It's the freaking best!
I like to move it, move it.
He likes to move it, move it.
She likes to move it, move it.
We like to
Move
it.
Welcome to the Sunday Movie Marathon. It's episode 70 on this day. How are we? I'm King Julian.
I'm Mort.
Oh man, I want it to be more.
And yeah, how the hell are we?
All right, yeah. So tired now. I've crashed, but we got tea here, so we're good.
It's been a day.
It's been a day.
Yeah.
Happy International Women's Day as we're recording.
Woohoo!
We spent it in the correct way, of course, watching the entire Madagascar Trilogy.
The only
The
way.
only way to pay homage to the great women of the world.
Yeah,
Some
those
would argue.
movies are great feminist statements, as we all know.
No better use of time, really. So.
So we're fresh off the marathon.
Yeah.
Literally
Did it
just
all in
finished
one
it.
day. Like exhausted.
I think it's like the first time we've done one of these like marathons in like one day in months.
Well, usually they take a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never normally have time to do all three in one go.
Yeah, usually because we're like all working and our schedules clash, we like have to watch them over like 2 nights or something.
And then
or,
record on a third.
or like do them like separately sometimes, but it was nice to get them all done in one day. It's not even 5 o'clock yet and we're already recording.
Yeah. It's a
beautiful.
new high for us.
Yeah,
Let's
it's a
keep
new-
it going.
A new
But we
era.
probably won't.
No. It'll probably be ruined by the next
Yeah.
episode.
I liked that this week we also just kind of, as soon as one film was done, we pretty much just went to the next one
Yeah.
straight away. Like with some films, I feel like we take like long breaks.
Well, there's such vibrant and energetic movies. You almost you can't wait to get into the next one. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Do you guys have anything for the pre-chat?
Yeah, we watched jeen-yuhs, that Kanye West documentary on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
It came out over 3 weeks.
Mhm.
I think the third part came out
It was last week. Yeah.
but we didn't get a chance to watch it before we recorded. So yeah, the documentary, I think, is split into 3 parts. The first 2 parts are this like videographer guy called Kudi, who's like a hip hop photographer and stuff. He kind of saw Kanye West he was friends with Kanye West and kind of saw this guy with a lot of potential who was kind of being almost like shafted by the industry. He wasn't really going anywhere. He had a lot of success in production, but he wasn't a rapper yet. But he just kind of knew that he was about to blow up. So he followed him for about 2 or 3 years, just kind of filming pretty much everything he did. And that's kind of what the first 2 parts are. They're just kind of made up of all this footage where it's Kanye kind of on the grind, making his first album, trying to get noticed, and it kind of ends when suddenly he gets the final go ahead to make this album, and it comes out and it's like a huge hit. And I thought it was really interesting watching kind of his creative process, seeing him work on like all these really classic great songs, or like introduce people to him for the first time. And I think the second part shows him getting in a car crash that inevitably led to him writing that Through the Wire song. It's a lot of really interesting stuff, and it's interesting also seeing how Kanye used to be compared to now, where I feel like he's kind of this figure who is kind of batshit insane and like very egotistical. I really enjoyed kind of seeing him back then when he's not really like that at all. He's very humble. He seems he's very determined. He does definitely have a bit of an ego, but never to the point where it seems like he's harming other people or just being batshit insane.
Yeah, it feels kind of bittersweet, actually. It's sad because you kind of see him in this, more down to earth kind of like where he's sort of just trying to make it, and then he makes it. And the last episode is just, it's just unhinged because it's literally everything that we know that we know about him.
Yeah, the last episode kind of sums up 15 years in an hour and a half. It's kind of, it feels like it's trying to kind of look at Kanye's mental health and like what has led him there. But the problem is, because obviously the guy who made it is like a good friend of his, is very clearly made through like the biased lens of a friend.
Yeah, it
And
can't.
that kind of, it stops it from being this deep dive into who he is, and I think that really it made the last episode just not that enjoyable
But then
for me.
didn't Kanye have to have like the last word on like what got
He
edited and-
demanded
Yeah.
it, but I think they said no because the documentary was literally days from coming out.
Oh, because I
I think they said no, it's too late for that. And
Oh,
I
okay.
think he also, when they started making the documentary, he originally said he was happy with everything because he got to see it originally and he signed off on it. So I think legally he couldn't turn his back on it then.
Oh, okay, because I was under the impression that that's why the ending was so not even like biased, but it was catered in a sort of way that didn't show all of the truth, or all of the aspects that could have happened.
No, I think it's just because it was made by a friend.
I mean, it was
Yeah, it's an
I mean,
interesting documentary. I'd highly recommend the first two parts, especially. Especially if you're like a really big fan of Kanye's early stuff, like the College Dropout, because it's basically just him making that. So my favorite bit in the whole like 3-part thing was when he has Pharrell Williams in his studio and he like shows him through the wire for the first time, and like Pharrell walks out the studio and like comes back in. It's like, mate, you're like the greatest musician I've ever met. It's it's a lot of fun.
I think my favourite part was the first part, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, I liked his really, really early days, like his first 2 or so albums. I mean, I like a fair few of them. I don't know, say like the first maybe 4 or 5 even. But I don't know, it was the first part of the documentary that was kind of more, I guess it was more gripping to me because it wasn't Kanye on like this mad ego hype. It was just him slumming it. And I was like, I respect that, because he came from like nothing. He was like, oh, I'm still going to be riding the train and writing my Grammy speech or whatever he was doing. And I was like, you know what, fair enough. I miss those days, man. Kanye's such a piece of shit now.
The guy who made it seemed to be playing the long game.
Yeah.
terms
Do you know
of, like-
what? Kudos to him, because there's a bit in a documentary where he doesn't film him for like, wasn't it like 3 years or 6 years or something?
6 years. Yeah.
And in that time, he was just like filming his daughter and like getting back to doing like his own kind of things, because he was working on, is it Channel Zero?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But another big problem I have with the last part is it really felt like he didn't actually have that much footage, and he's kind of scrambling to stretch out whatever footage he has. I think it's the longest part as well, and there's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
points where you're just like,
unnecessarily. Yeah.
he's like reusing footage, or
He's
like
looking at news clips and stuff.
using news clips, or using like a lot of stuff that is just like not interesting at all.
Yeah, but then if you hadn't filmed him for 6 years and you're going to talk about the last 15 years or so, I guess you are going to sort of
I kind of
run
feel
out
like
of
that
stuff.
it was kind of unnecessary. I would have much preferred the first 2 parts to be stretched out over 3.
Oh,
like-
I would happily have just watched the first 2 parts and then not watched the third part at all. Like, you didn't need to finish it. You could have just been like, this is, like, changed it entirely. Like, just call it the making of, or the early years or something. Like, you don't need to,
Yeah.
we don't need to talk about how he is now, because nobody likes who he is now. Like, and I'm not,
And
that's
we
not,
know, sort of.
yeah, like that's not me trying to be rude, but like, I have seen so many people, like when, like, just before this all came out, you know, all that stuff with like Pete Davidson and stuff. Like, a lot of people don't like Kanye, like, in general, but a lot of people are now like actively saying that he's like toxic and abusive and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a hard documentary to talk about now, because I'm one of those people that I can separate the music from the artist, but it's hard to talk about, especially on International Women's Day, when you've got this man who's like clearly unhinged and is quite unwell and
Yeah.
toxic. So I think it's
mean-
hard to talk about.
Yeah, like you said, Max, we kind of know, like, his life over the last 15 years or so has been heavily publicized,
Yeah.
as he's been like one of the biggest musicians in the world. Whereas what's kind of what's shown in the first 2 parts is like before he's really that big. So
Yeah, and that's what was more
kind of-
interesting about it.
Yeah, that was interesting, seeing all this stuff that we didn't really know about. Like, even as me, like, who did a lot of research in like his story for the podcast I did about him.
Yeah,
There's
like,
a lot of stuff I didn't know about him that I like to see.
and I found some of the most interesting parts were things like before Through the Wire, where he was like sitting in these dentist chairs and stuff, and he was like getting filmed in the doctors and things. and he was just like, "Oh, I want you to fix my jaw because my face looks weird." And the dentist is like, "Do we really have to film this? Like, I literally cannot fix his face; it will fix itself." And it was just weird because it was just like normal stuff like that I thought, "Oh, this is quite interesting." And then it got a bit too much, like, you know, showing clips of Kanye, Taylor Swift's like award thing, being like, "I'm gonna let you finish." Everyone was like, everyone knew that, like, no, everyone needed this.
But yeah, overall,
yeah, it was good.
It's a good documentary. First 2 parts are really great. Last one isn't really. I think for me, I'd give like the first 2 parts an 8, the last one a 6. So like overall, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10, I guess.
Yeah,
it was good. I don't know if it Darcy's rating.
I didn't rate them to start with. I knew you could rate them on Letterboxd, but I don't feel the need to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Really,
yeah, there's better music documentaries out there, but for what it was decent.
I think if you want a nicer human introspective into him as a person, I would recommend at least watching the first one.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know, because I don't really listen to Kanye. I don't know how much I'd really get out of it.
Yeah, I don't think you'd really get anything.
Oh yeah, I feel like if you don't like his music, you may as well just not even bother.
It reminded me a lot of that Peter Jackson Beatles documentary he did last year. It's very, very in depth at points, and feel like unless you're like a big fan of the music, you're not going to get anything out of it at all.
Sure. Okay. I might give that one a miss then.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Well, I mean, it would be interesting, but yeah, to be honest, if you don't like him, then Max, it's not worth your time.
There's so much more. There's so many things I need to watch, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste your time on it unless you were really bored one Sunday and went, "Oh, I'll just put it on."
Okay. So there was that new The Batman that came out, and Chris and I saw it. It's like the new blockbuster, the new big blockbuster that's come out. Everyone's raving about it. Oh, it's the best thing ever in the world, forever.
It's true.
It's garnered a lot of acclaim. I think people are really loving this movie.
Yeah.
So it came out very recently. It was directed by Matt Reeves, and you got the new Batman, who's played by Robert Pattinson, of Twilight fame, but also of just a lot of really interesting and out there indie movies, and just I think. Yeah. He's a really interesting actor. I think I'm always up for anything that he's doing nowadays.
Yeah, he's very varied, isn't he?
Yeah, I think this is his first like big studio thing since Twilight.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, I don't really,
because like
I don't know if I can.
Oh yeah, no,
the
everything.
Lighthouse was Universal, but
no,
it's not like a big
everything I've ever
project.
seen him in has been like Netflix or DVD like releases. I've not seen him in a film. Yeah.
It's almost like he's kind of started from scratch to kind of make a name for himself again.
Do you want fair play to him though?
I think the Twilight movies kind of ruined his reputation because a lot of people wouldn't hire him or wouldn't watch him in things because they were like, "Oh, it's the guy from those teen female movies."
He has come out recently saying that it's now no longer cool to hate on Twilight. So I think even he's kind of gotten over the fact that he's been in them.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they were a product of their time. I think. Yeah. There were a lot of people who thought that he wasn't right for the part of Batman.
For Batman? Okay.
Because I guess since his last big blockbuster stuff was Twilight, they equate him more to that rather than stuff that he has been doing, like The Lighthouse, like Good Time or High Life, or all those indie movies that he's been in. Really great performances that he's put on. For what it's worth, I think he pulled it out of the bag. I do think they bet on the right man for the new Batman. I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't love it. I mean, I guess my biggest criticism is that it's very long. It is like 3 hours long. And at a certain point, I was kind of not bored, but I was like, okay, I wish this would kind of wrap up a bit sooner than it did.
That was honestly my biggest problem with the movie because I was having such a great time, and there were like points where I was like, this is like maybe one of like my like second favorite Batman movie, like after The Dark Knight. There were like points where I was like, maybe it's even like almost a parallel with that, but then it just kept going and going. There's like a bit, they kind of, it feels like it's structured like you have 3 acts and then there's just a random 4th act in there, which is another 3rd act.
Yeah.
Like they wrap up, I wouldn't say the main story, I guess kind of the main story.
Sort of.
And then it's like, but wait a second, there's
this other guy
like
you've got to
45
get,
minutes left. There's more stuff going on. And that was my biggest problem with it. It's just that way it's structured.
Stuff like that drives me mad. It kind of reminds me of, I think it was The Hobbit. There was like one of those films where I thought it was going to end and then it carried on.
The third Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
And it just carries on. It carries on.
Yeah, I mean, Return of the King, I think that earned it.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
It needs to wrap up a lot more than what this is doing. But I really like the kind of style they were going for, and that people have likened it a lot to Seven. And I think it was it must have been heavily inspired by Seven.
Yeah, it definitely was.
It's more to do with Batman trying to figure some shit out and being an actual detective. He's supposed to be like the greatest detective or whatever in the comics. I mean, I haven't read the comics. Take everything I say with a pinch of salt, I suppose, about comic book movies. But I really enjoyed that he was kind of just going about these different crime scenes and being like looking at shit while the police were there. And he's just this fucking dude dressed as a bat. I found that really funny.
What, he literally just went to these places?
Yeah, he just like walked in. He was like, look at that. You guys seen this piece of blood on the floor? And they're like, oh shit, Batman, you're awesome.
Yeah, because he has like these contact lenses to have like cameras inside, and he's like recording everything.
Nice.
As someone who is a huge fan of Batman, like especially like the comics, which I read a lot as a kid, and obviously loved the animated show and the Arkham games, I feel like this is probably the most accurate to the source material I've seen from a Batman movie, because it is much more focused on the detective stuff. It's less so like focused on action and that sort of thing. Like, although I think The Dark Knight is a better movie in a lot of ways, I do think in terms of just like a Batman story, how Batman was originally written, I think this is the closest I've seen in live action, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, it's going for something completely different, I think. And while I guess I would rather watch a movie like Seven, this does it pretty well. It's going for a really dark, gritty feeling. I felt like this is as good as I've ever seen Gotham as a city.
Yeah.
It really got to the seedy underbelly of it and made it feel dirty.
Yeah, as I was watching this, there's loads of points that reminded me of the game Arkham City, where so much of it is just like, it feels like it's underneath something. It really does feel like an underworld rather than like it kind of feels like it's an underground city almost. Like everything's draped in like metro stations and monorails and stuff, and just I really liked that. I think it looks really great. It doesn't just feel like or look like New York or Chicago or something like the other ones I've seen in films have been.
Yeah. And they're not afraid to like completely mess it up either. Like they destroy Gotham.
Yeah.
They absolutely destroy it. But I kind of appreciated that. But at times, I thought this is maybe a bit too much. In terms of, I suppose, some of the action, I thought there was like, and maybe it was also to do with, I thought my theatre was very loud. I thought it was a very loud movie.
Yeah, it was.
And in a way that like the action didn't really complement the quieter scenes. So it was quite jarring whenever there was like a car chase, and like there is this big car chase with the Penguin and Batman. And the entire time it was like a sensory overload. There's so much going on, and like all these engines revving. I was like, I had to like cover my ears at one point. I was like, this is too much. Like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I loved that bit. It was like my favourite action sequence.
That's like a nightmare for me, to be honest.
Yeah. But I did like the action, as much as it is used quite sparingly.
Yeah.
The choreography is pretty decent. It's really quite good, I thought. And, you know, he gets hit a lot. He always gets back up. I enjoy a hero who can like just like get beat the shit out of, and he really does.
Something I really love about what they do in this is they make not only they make the character of both Batman and Bruce Wayne incredibly flawed, and they kind of spend the whole film kind of pointing to those flaws. Like there's a bit I remember you said that made you really laugh, where he has like a grappling hook, and he's using it to hop onto this bus because he's like getting chased, and he just like massively like stacks it. He hits into a bridge and like flies on the ground. And
There
although
was, there was a point where like he used his like bat suit and it turned into like a glider, and he jumped off of a really tall building, and he just like smacks like head first into a bridge, and like falls over. That was really
Jesus
funny.
yeah, it's really
Christ.
silly, but like I appreciate the fact they showed this character he's not a perfect person. Even he makes mistakes and fucks up occasionally.
Yeah, I did like it a lot. He just like kind of limps back. He's like, he like
sounds
goes
like
into
it
an
hurt.
alleyway and he kind of limps away. That was fun.
Jesus.
I like that they kind of, you don't really get to see Bruce Wayne as much as you get to see Batman, and I felt like they kind of, while they are the same person, I like that they have their own kind of people. They're like, oh, now we're watching Bruce Wayne, but when he's Batman, it's like, yeah, this is definitely Batman. It's not exactly Bruce Wayne anymore. Bruce Wayne is like this fucking dude who like he's secluded. He's like isolated himself in his bat cave. He has to like put sunglasses on when he goes into a room that's too bright. Clearly, he hasn't been outside a lot.
Oh,
I really like that. That
he's
he
a
wasn't
dingy
like
man.
he's not this kind of playboy that we've seen in like the Nolan movies. He's like a hermit. I really I appreciated that.
Yeah, I really liked it. I loved the villains as well. Obviously, you got the Riddler played by Paul Dano, who I think is incredible in the movie. That's one where it's like very, very heavily, like obviously inspired by Zodiac. They basically have made the Riddler the Zodiac killer, which I actually really liked. I thought it was a really
That is
great way of
sick.
making him like serious, because the Riddler's always been one of the sillier characters. Like his normal like look is like him in like this green suit, like with a cane and making like silly riddles and stuff. I think they did the best possible job of making him much more grounded to reality and darker than they could. I also liked Colin Farrell as the Penguin, although I wish he
Nice.
was in it a bit more.
Was that Colin Farrell?
Yeah,
Jesus,
yeah, he's under obviously
unrecognizable. Yeah.
heavy prosthetics,
Mhm.
but he does a really great job.
Yeah, he's very good. I think I do like Paul Dano in the role of the Riddler, but I do think I'm kind of tired of seeing him in roles like this. It's like he's a guy who's like talks big and then he like cries a lot and like he just like screams a lot and like
Yeah.
he's really fucking pathetic. It reminded me a lot of like his performance in Prisoners and just like at the end of There Will Be Blood. You know,
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, yeah,
it's a very good performance, but I do think it's not completely out of his wheelhouse.
no, not at all. I think he was the perfect fit for what they were trying to go for.
Sure. I think they got Catwoman back as well.
Yeah, played
Zoe
by
Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz. Yeah,
She's good, and I
Yeah.
really liked her.
thought she was a lot better than in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but come on. There's a lot wrong with that movie. I think. I'm also glad to see Jeffrey Wright here as well. Sort of sung his praises a lot on the podcast. I think he's a very good actor. I'm glad to see him in more roles. He does a very good job. He's like Batman's mate, his friend.
Yeah, Gordon.
Mhm.
He's like his guy in the police force who kind of rooting for him and kind of lets him in on the investigations.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's kind of against him. You got like the guy who played Joe Meek in fucking the Telstar movie, who's like the chief of police. And he's like very much against Batman being there. I like that they kind of had that war within the police department, where clearly Batman's a fantastic detective, but they don't want to work with him because he's a vigilante. Oh, I don't know like what you thought of the music. We got Michael Giacchino doing the score, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really big on Giacchino. I don't think he's. I think a lot of his scores are just like kind of samey. It's like, yeah, here's a soundtrack for a superhero movie, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard any of his other stuff. I actually really liked what they were going for in this film. It's like it has like his own theme song that plays a lot, which is just basically an orchestral version of Something in the Way by Nirvana, which plays a couple of times. And I thought it was incorporated quite well, and I liked the theme. I thought it was quite memorable.
yeah. That was all right. I think he also did like the Spider-Man movies for Marvel. I think
Okay.
He did the Tom Holland trilogy for that.
I like the music in those ones.
Yeah, they're all right. Yeah, I think what I was kind of thinking about was I don't know if I would watch this movie again because it is so long. As much as I do like it, I think it's like it's really bloated. And I was kind of having like a really good time the entire way through, but I was very wary of the fact that it was like going over the mark a bit. Like, okay, this is definitely like I'm watching a 3-hour long movie. And another reason I don't think I would like to put this on at home, I think it would be too dark to watch on like my TV, or like if you watch this in the daytime, I just don't think you'd be able to see anything.
You'd have to have like, all the curtains closed. It'd have to be like quite dark outside. But yeah, I'd watch it again. I had a really good time. Although it is very long, I did enjoy it a lot. I'm really interested to see what they do next, because although they haven't officially confirmed it, I know Robert Pattinson recently kind of turned around on his opinions on returning. I think he's now more into the idea of doing another Batman movie, and I know Matt Reeves has said he wants to do another one. I said to you yesterday that I'd really love to see him do like an Arkham Asylum sort of movie, maybe, or
sure,
Arkham City is one of the other games, and it seemed like they were kind of hinting at possibly turning that into a story where they've got actually I won't say anything, it's kind of spoilery, but yeah, it kind of seemed like they were kind of hinting at maybe doing both those stories, which I think could be interesting. But yeah, only time will tell. I'd definitely see another movie if they do one though.
Yeah, I would too. I really like Robert Pattinson in the role. I think he does it justice.
Yeah. I heard a lot of people say he's a great Batman, but not so great Bruce Wayne. But I think for the version of Bruce Wayne that they're going for is very different to anything we've seen before, and I think it does suit the film.
Yeah, I liked him. I liked him a lot. One thing I think this will be like my last thing just before we get off this, but I found it really kind of stupid that like they kept getting this one thing wrong. It's like they get like a riddle and it's like a rat with wings, and they're always like, whoa, who's the informant? It's the rat with wings. Who could the rat with wings be? And they kept like reeling off a bunch of characters. I was like, Jesus Christ, how many of these guys are named after like just birds?
Yeah.
Just animals with wings. And they keep getting it wrong. I'm like, this is silly. This is stupid.
Yeah, that was one bit where I was like, really? Like, I feel like it's really obvious. This.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get any of the other riddles, but that one was like the most glaringly obvious one.
Yeah. Yeah. Good movie. Right out of Rats with Wings.
Yeah, I had a really, really great time with this. I definitely rewatch it. I wouldn't even be opposed to maybe rewatching it in the cinema at some point while it's out, because it's probably going to be there for quite a while. Yeah, just had a great time. Love Batman. Still probably one of my favorite Batman movies, I'd say. Not as good as Dark Knight, maybe not as good as Batman Begins, but yeah, guess I give it like a 8 rats with wings out of 10.
Rings.
It was a tougher one to say than
yeah.
we thought. Yeah, I think it's the best live action Batman we've seen since The Dark Knight.
Well, yeah.
There's not much competition.
No, I mean,
that's what it is.
We got Dark Knight Rises, which sucked, and the Snyder Batmans, which weren't very good either.
Nice. Give me more of this one. This one was good. I'll give it 7 rats with wings out of 10. Lovely. So that's that. We've got the marathon that we just did today. We watched the Madagascar Trilogy. We watched them all. We watched all those Madagascar ones. So, do you want to introduce the first one, Chris?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
Probably have been more prepared.
You're not prepared? All right. Well, I'll do this one then.
That's okay. I'll quickly
No, it's okay.
First one, Madagascar, 2005, directed by Eric Darnell and Tom McGrath. Basically, a film about a group of animals who have spent their whole life living in a zoo in New York. One of the characters, Marty, who's a zebra played by Chris Rock, one day decides that he wants to go kind of see the world a bit more. So he escapes this zoo. All the other animals are like going after him, and they get captured. And because they're believed that they're kind of not good enough to be in this zoo anymore, they've kind of gone wild. They decide to send them to a sanctuary, I think, in Africa. But the boat crashes and they end up in a jungle of Madagascar and decide they have to adjust to living in the wild. The story basically is non-existent.
Yeah, sort of. Staple movie. Staple movie of my childhood, of course. Of all of our childhoods and anyone who grew up in the 2000s. On one of DreamWorks classics. This whole trilogy, one of DreamWorks classics. Obviously, we watched these on DVD because I have the DVDs, and there was trailers before the movie started. We got like an over the hedge trailer where Steve Carell just like sat there and fucking explained about Over the Hedge.
Yeah, and then Bruce Willis was there.
Willis was there. He was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I got to grow up with Bruce Willis."
And then Bruce Willis was like, yeah, it was so sick, I got to be a raccoon. And he just did not care that he was in that film, like, whatsoever.
Yeah, this is better than that. At least I remember Madagascar.
I remember Over the Hedge, like, really vividly for some reason.
Wow.
I don't.
Interesting.
It was, like, on TV, and I, like, watched bits in passing.
So much as a kid. Like, I saw it in the cinema, I think, twice. And I, like, had the DVDs, used to watch it all the time.
Yeah,
this I also saw in the cinema and had on DVD, so I remember this one really well also.
What, Madagascar?
Damn, yeah. I mean, yeah, you say it's very light on the plot. I mean, not a lot happens to me. It's like an hour and a half, and yeah, it basically has no narrative going for it. But you can't say it's not memorable.
Yeah,
you
that
can't
is
say,
true.
I mean, the characters, you say what you want about them, but goddamn, they're memorable.
Yeah,
memorable as character
you could probably
designs.
Draw them from memory as well.
Yeah, you could. You could draw them from memory using only straight lines, and you'd get them completely right.
There's no shape to these
I do
things.
think if I hadn't watched this film so many times as a kid, I wouldn't remember it.
Oh, of course not.
I think if this was the first time I watched it, I would have forgotten it already.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, what? Because nothing happens, right?
No, there is no plot.
Not really.
It's kind of a loose collection of scenes, kind of.
But that was it. I was gonna say that this for me wasn't one of those. Obviously, I had seen it when I was younger, but it wasn't one of those films that I don't know. I can't think of a film off the top of my head, but you have those films as a kid that you loved, and then you'd watch them like over and over, or you talk about them still. I don't know a single person that still talks about Madagascar, but then I guess I don't know. For me, I never really was into it that much, so maybe I just kind of missed the boat a little bit on that one. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, these are seminal movies. You got great characters such as Alex and Marty and Gloria and Melman. King Julian is there, obviously, and Maurice, his mate.
And the other one, what was his name? The
little Mort. Mort. Yeah, he's great. He's there, played by Andy Richter. Who can just he's insane, man. Who has a foot fetish. They really kind of go in on like the Mort lore with this, where they
they do.
There's like
the more
when he's introduced, the more, which literally means death. So there's something to this character, I think, that we're not seeing. There's a bit of backstory here. I think he's first introduced where he's like smelling King Julian's feet, and then King Julian's like, "Oh, well, I told you about the feet. Why are you sniffing my feet?" And then Maurice is like, "Yeah, he did tell you about the feet." And Maurice is like,
and then he goes back and smells the feet again.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. He's got some kind of fetish here. Something's happening.
Indeed.
There's layers here. Something under the surface. Best character.
I just don't really know what to. I mean, I don't. What, like, of course, yeah. So it's hard to string together a sentence about what I think about this film because I want to be objective and think about it from Like, I don't want to just go in and completely slag it off, but at the same time, I do wonder why we liked it. Well, I say we, I mean like collectively as a bunch of generational children thought,
No,
wow,
why
this
do
is
they
great.
children? It's for kids.
Is
Yeah,
it-
it's for kids.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
then does that mean it's still not good, or does that mean I would have to sit a 12-year-old in this room and they might go, that was great? Is
The
it just
12-year-old will probably hate it. Maybe
Yeah.
like a... I was
2-year-old.
Yeah, I was
don't
8
know.
when this came out.
okay? Yeah,
Like, maybe like an 8-year-old would love it.
I'm just wondering
'Cause
whether
it is a film for kids.
it's got to be something that we thought, oh, this was great, and then even our parents are probably like tearing off their own
Yeah.
face.
I don't know.
This
I
isn't-
think the cinematic landscape has evolved since 2005 to where if you showed this to a kid today, they'd probably not like it.
yeah.
It's aged pretty poorly. All the animation it's very blocky.
It's very of its time.
Very,
Yeah.
the characters kind of look a bit off because it kind of like blocks and like the nostrils are like weird spirals and shit like that.
Yeah, there's
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of design quirks, but I think that might. Well, I don't want to say it's down to like software and things because it's probably not. But there are certain things. I just think like there's not a lot of working with shapes, but then there's like a competent effort to like try and draw things like hair in the mane and make it all like frizzy and shit. But then there's like parts where it literally is like pointed and straight, and I'm like, this just doesn't look.
I don't think enough time or money was put into the animation.
Maybe not.
Although-
No.
It's got a large budget, as Max found out earlier. Was it like 70 million or something, you said?
The budget was $75 million,
Yeah.
and
Although
the box office it took in 556
Yeah.
million.
Oh wow.
Obviously,
Yeah,
got
or-
money back.
Although it did have a high budget, I don't think enough time or money was actually put into the animation. Like, you
Mhm.
compare it to something like Cars, which came out the same year. I think Incredibles was a year or two before then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, those films both look incredible and still really hold up today.
Yeah, this
'cause,
one
yeah,
doesn't
they
look.
actually put the time and like right amount of money into making them look good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think this was like after the DreamWorks renaissance, I suppose. They already come out with Shrek, which I think did very well for
I
them.
think Shrek actually looked better than this film, and I hate
Shrek
Shrek.
does look better than this film. But yeah, I guess it was just like not enough money paid because you got these high profile actors. You got
Yeah, you probably have to pay him quite a lot, I suppose.
Ben Stiller and Chris Rock and David Schwimmer and Jada Pinkett Smith, Sacha Baron Cohen and all them. They obviously are going to command a lot of money.
There's probably
I
there's
suppose.
probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like half the budget went to just getting a star like cast so you can get people to come and watch it. Because obviously people are going to be like, oh man, that's a kids' film. It's got David Schwimmer in it. Oh, I bloody love that guy. I'm going to go and watch it with my 4-year-old who doesn't know who David Schwimmer is, but he definitely likes zebras. And it's like, oh, okay.
I feel like animated movies have a sort of free space for that, though. It's like, well, you don't see the actors, so like you could just cast no names, right?
Yeah,
What would it matter? Because it's a kids' movie, and they think, if there's a kids' movie coming out, kids are going to see it because parents want something to show their kids, and it doesn't matter who's in it.
Yeah, I think let's just stop squandering their money on these people that they don't even do voice acting either. It's literally just their voices.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I always heard the actors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all I could see was Chris Rock the whole time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I don't think it helps that these characters aren't like super unique for them either. They're kind of just they are
They
basically
almost play
those
themselves,
actors.
don't they?
Yeah, like I think of something like Toy Story where it has Tim Allen and Tom Hanks,
Mm.
both of whom have very, very distinctive voices and don't try and like
It's not
put
very
on
different.
a voice. But like those characters are so distinctive and so different for them that I think that it kind of works a lot better.
Mhm.
When you're watching them, you actually feel like you're watching Buzz and Woody. You don't feel like you're watching Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. Whereas
Yeah,
in
this stage you just
I'm
went,
watching,
oh yeah.
I'm watching Ben Stiller, I'm watching Chris Rock, and that's it.
Yeah. Thought it was very strange and fucked up that they could actually spell. But, these are characters who've lived in New York. Don't they know that they can't talk to people? But Alex still tries to call the police on a phone. He actually gets to the police as well. His fingers are so goddamn blocky.
Yeah, they're like
Right,
rectangles.
how does he push the buttons?
Yeah, it's like having a ruler.
Massive cubes for fingers.
literally getting a ruler and trying to stab it into a phone.
It was actually funny when he like called them and like they didn't understand him, so he just like broke the phone off and like chucked the booth away. This is and it's also trying to go for comedy. This is like a comedy movie, but it's not funny.
No.
Nothing here is very funny at all. Was it like one of the first jokes is about like a rectal thermometer, and a lot of these jokes are I think trying to go for the more adult audience, and I don't really know why because they're not very funny. I didn't find them funny.
The jokes are either kind of trying to be a little bit risque for the adults, or like the most bottom of the barrel kids jokes possible, like just people falling over or like getting hit by something, that kind of, or like Gloria is fat and that's like the joke, and it's that kind of shit.
Sugar honey iced tea, seminal moment. Yeah, they did a lot of. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like how they kind of depicted Gloria as a character. It's like, here's the woman and she's sexy. She's got a big butt, and when she comes out of the crate, there are. She's like dressed up with starfish and a crab, and it's like, okay, what's up with this?
Yeah, especially when the logic goes that this box is like spinning around with Alex in it, and Marty, no, not Marty, what's the other one? Melman, and there's like no water, no sense of debris or anything, and then just Gloria comes out all
She's
sexualized with a little
sexy,
starfish.
getting wet from the seawater,
So
and
bloody
draped
weird.
in seaweed.
Yeah, she's the only one who has any water inside her box somehow.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
also,
sense.
like the size of the crates like change. Like they're different when you see them like stacked on each other to when they like get to land. Like especially with Melman, because like when the boxes are all like stacked on each other, and there's like that shot.
Oh yeah,
of them.
his neck is all
He's
bended in because he's too big
like,
for the box.
He is too big for the box, but he can fit in there. Like his whole body is in there, and then all of a sudden he can't get out and he gets stuck as if like he was always hanging out of it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Like the box is now too long, which doesn't make any
it's not
sense.
wide enough for him now.
So it was wide enough but not long enough, and now it's long enough but not wide enough.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, well, I think they kind of threw logic out the window, you know?
Yeah, no, that is true. Like,
They
literally
stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, the whole time he's talking about it, I'm thinking about the holes in the
holes in the bottom. Yeah, very minor thing, but it's like Gloria's at the bottom. They're like Marty and Alex are stacked on top of her, so why would there be light shining out from on the top of Gloria's box? Makes no sense, but I mean, I don't know. They just didn't think about it. Otherwise, you couldn't see it, right?
Yeah, like the only thing I can come to a conclusion is that the boxes on top were slightly smaller and they were a little bit further away from each other than in the shot. So I guess you could have like the teeniest bit of light, but even then, it wouldn't be anywhere as much light as they're making out. But then kids have got to be able to go, that's Gloria, and that's kind of it, really. And that serves its purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Somehow these the animals know exactly like all of New York and how to make their way around it, even though they've only ever lived inside the zoo. Like they know where the Grand Central Station is. Right. They know how to use the trains to get there.
Let me think, right? Could it be they've spent their whole lives in this zoo and they're just listening to zoo customers, like coming by and going, I'm going to take the Grand Central to blah, blah, blah. But then who's going to stand there and have a conversation about like what tubes they're going to get on and how long it's going to take and where to go? And because everyone just wants to go, hey, what animal would you like to go and see next? Like, who thinks of these things?
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why we should not be discussing like the logistics of this. We just can't. No, because then you'd have to pick apart all sorts, like how the humans can understand. Or did the humans understand?
They can't understand them. No.
Is it just like roaring noises to them?
Yeah. But that was also a point. It's like, why did you think that they could understand you if you ever tried to talk to a human? So clearly, they have. Alex tried to call the police. Wouldn't you know not to? There was also a Planet of the Apes reference, and I was just thinking, who the hell was that for?
Yeah.
Well, like the Statue of Liberty thing burns down, and then Alex is like, "Oh, you maniacs!" It's like, who is that for? It's like I've seen that parodied a million times. It's not funny anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how in both this and the second one, there's a Twilight Zone reference. In this one, there's like a bit where Lima has a cookbook that's like referencing a scene from one of the episodes, like where they got a cookbook and how to cook men up.
I love that.
Yeah. Do you mean the Fusa? Or is it the lemur?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The
They got,
Fusa
like,
are the
the-
ones that look like the tigers, like the baby.
They're the
not
villains,
tigers.
you know?
Yeah.
They're-
I don't really remember it. I'm just going
tormenting
off
the
what I
lemurs.
read online.
Whether they got that whole species to like turn into villains. There's a lot of like strange things that they talk about here. Like, yeah, here's this whole species of like wild cat or whatever that are the villains of the story.
Yeah, this
and, like,
kind of.
when like Alex goes like crazy because he hasn't eaten anything, Mort's like, he's going savage.
It's like,
oh, okay. This is strange.
there's almost so many things that you just don't even want to like talk about because you're like, this is. It's almost like not even worth mentioning because you're like, oh, if I pick apart this, I'm gonna have to just like dissect this whole movie because it's so weird.
Yeah, they're all like, oh, I can't believe Alex has done this.
And it's like,
But it's
can
like
you?
he hasn't eaten in like a week.
And he's a
so-
lion.
yeah.
Like
What do
he
you think?
needs
Yeah.
to eat.
But he can't. Nobody. You can't kill an animal in these movies because that would be fucked up, right? It's
Yeah.
for kids. But like, what's he supposed to eat? But he's like, oh, I love me a steak. I love me a good steak. That's his favorite thing. But I can't kill an animal and get the steak from that
Yeah,
because that would be horrendous.
Yeah, because he's. This is the problem because obviously in the
But he's a
film,
lion.
he just gets given steak because that's what he probably. Well, not he, but like the other animals are like, oh, what is steak? Because they don't know what it is. And then
And it's like, what? This is Madagascar. The only animals that inhabit the place are like lemurs and
yeah,
Fusa.
and I guess they just assume that all the animals just eat leaves and fruit and things, and then go, oh no, Alex eats steak, and then go, but they don't know what steak is, so they just probably think it's some fruit or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They also like never really resolve that like
No.
conflict. He just
No,
kind of
he just
he
starves.
stops being feral.
Marty sings him a song and he's all right again.
And he's
Yeah.
not starved anymore. He's
He eats
rejoiced.
some sushi, like
Yeah.
one tiny bit of sushi,
He's
and
like,
apparently that's
The worst
good,
part
bro.
is that it's like mostly rice. So he's like got this one sliver of fish, and he's just like, I'm cured.
Yeah.
Weeks of hunger, and I'm cured.
But he was cured before he even ate
Yeah.
the fish.
It doesn't
Like
make any
sat
sense.
down at a table all well done up and dear.
Whatever.
Did we like any of the characters? I don't think we've said anything about them yet.
The main characters suck. But you know, Mort, he's there. Love that guy.
I like Mort. He's
Yeah.
cute.
King Julian.
King Julian's.
He's probably
He's
the
fine,
most
yeah,
fun.
he's
He's like the
alright.
most.
Reminds me of Jeff Goldblum.
He's like the most vibrant
yeah.
of the bunch. I would say. Like
Mhm.
he's the one that.
I mean, the penguins are the
It's meant-
standout for me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Penguins
so
are great.
yeah, but the penguins are like the best part of most of these films anyway.
All of these films.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
you know, there's someone in the third one that I get a special spout out.
Yeah, and you
No,
know,
I know
they're
what you
not
mean, though,
disgusting
yeah.
to look at because they're very simply designed. Just like
Yeah.
these little black and white balls.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the other
lighting on
characters
the
aren't that
penguins
ugly.
is good as well. That's like the only time I actually like any of the lighting or anything. It's like the way it reflects off the penguins actually
Oh, they
looks
look all
decent.
shiny. Yeah, they look
Yeah,
nice.
shiny.
They
They've
look
got like
like
a
they're
coat.
constantly like wet, like a penguin
Yeah,
kind of shit.
I think that's nice.
Even though it makes no sense.
Yeah, no, it
when they're
doesn't.
in New York, that they'd be wet
No, but I
after like
guess,
tunneling through the ground.
but I guess they just got shiny coats. They might not even be wet. They might just be glossy and well groomed. Do penguins groom? How do they groom them? Do they groom themselves? Do they groom each other? I don't know.
This movie does not adhere to how animals actually act. I liked
No.
when the penguins
Of
they're like
course
trying to
not.
get to Antarctica. They want to go to their ancestral home, and then like there's like one shot where like they crash the ship into Antarctica, and they're just like standing off to the right hand side of the screen, and like there's just wind blowing and snow everywhere, and it's just desolate. And you just go, well, this sucks. And that was it.
Yeah, I like the bit at the end where they're like sunbathing because the penguins have decided that they just rather have sun. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, this is a movie for
Yeah. It's definitely
all manner of people back in 2005.
yeah. I think, and I don't know whether people are going to come at us for like talking about these films, right?
Okay,
But
no, of
Are
course
they?
not.
Yeah, but are they going to come at us in a? Oh, I love this film because it's nostalgic. It's a great film. Or they like because I don't want people to.
No one's ever come at
yeah.
us for anything that we've done on this podcast.
Not
But like
yet.
with this one, I don't think there is really a lot of people who are nostalgic for it.
No,
I think the general consensus is that it's one of DreamWorks' worst.
yeah.
But then
things.
why do
trilogy,
people
yeah.
like it? Well, not like it, but I mean,
I don't know anyone that likes it.
No, okay, hold on. Let me rephrase that. Not likes it, but I know tons of people who are like, they grew up watching it, so they kind of have like a, not even a nostalgic spot for it, but kind of like a soft spot because they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I watched this as
I
a
was
kid.
hoping that would be the case for me because obviously I loved this movie when I was 8 or whatever I was, and like
Oh, whenever.
I was hoping that watching it now I'd like enjoy it and like have a soft spot and be like really nostalgic for it, but I wasn't at all. I was just really bored.
I don't know. I don't think you got it.
I mean,
this made
maybe
like
not.
I Like to Move It super popular.
That is
You know,
true.
it had
actually, yeah.
it had its time to shine.
It did. I think it was. I mean, if I'm totally honest, off the bat, I would say this is probably the best one. Off the bat. But that's only because, right, everyone's
Really?
looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? But right, in my opinion, I think it's just, it just felt like it felt the quickest, but that might be because we watched
It
them all
was
in
the
one go.
shortest also.
Yeah, so I felt like maybe for me, because maybe it was just because it was the shortest, I don't know, but it just didn't feel as long as the other ones did, especially that second
Mhm.
one, but we'll get to that.
Sure. One thing I'll say before we round off this discussion, because I don't want to talk about Madagascar for too long,
Yeah, I don't know.
is that I didn't really like the music either, and Hans Zimmer does the music for all of these movies, and as you say now, I just don't really like it. I think it's
Yeah.
quite dull.
Interesting
remember
thing. Obviously, we just talked about Batman, and coincidentally enough, this film, Madagascar 2 and Madagascar 3 were released the exact same years as all of the Dark Knight trilogy, which is also
Oh, wow.
composed by Hans Zimmer.
Interesting. Well, I guess that speaks for itself. But what do we know? This movie got the favourite animated movie at the Kids' Choice Awards.
Apparently, there was originally a subplot in it where Gloria was pregnant because the zoo had an artificial insemination program, and she gave birth on the island. And because Melman has obviously had a crush on her, he became like the baby's dad. But
Wow.
it went really badly down in test audiences, so they cut it out.
Yeah.
That's-
Melman, the baby daddy? No thanks.
That sounds really weird.
Yeah.
That's like the start of someone
Yeah.
else's furry awakening. I'm not a big fan of that at all.
Another thing I find kind of funny is that there was a Disney movie called The Wild. Don't know if either of you watched
I
it
haven't
or even
seen it.
heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. But basically, DreamWorks found out about that film like being in production and decided, in a deliberate attempt to undermine them, they would make this movie. And they managed to get
Nice.
this movie out a year before The Wild came out, and this movie was massively more successful.
That's funny.
I think it was like in revenge because I think Pixar did the same thing with A Bug's Life, or it was either the other way around because Ants by DreamWorks
Oh, yeah.
came out at a similar sort of time. Can't remember
Cool.
what was in production first, but I know one of them existed because the other studio was making the other one.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. We'll go on to the ratings then. We'll do it out of malts.
Oh man, I was hoping we'd do it out of sugar honey iced teas.
Fine. Like I care.
Okay. This film sucks. Did not enjoy it at all. Not even ironically. It was just boring. Really badly made. Really ugly to look at. Just not a good time at all. Give it 2 sugar honey iced teas out of 10.
Yeah. Great movie. And I like to move it. 3 sugar honey iced teas out of 10.
It was okay. I mean, I feel like it was just kind of like an average kids film. It was, I don't want to say it was just like complete shit, but it was just really, I could have just done
Complete shit.
I could have just done anything else with my day, to be honest. 5 somethings out of 10.
It was a bit subpar.
It's my least favourite in the series also. It was only uphill
Yeah.
from here for me.
I think they get better as they go along.
I don't agree with that at
Speaking
all.
of going along, well, we'll get into it, I guess. So you got the next one that came out 3 years later in 2008. It's Madagascar Escape to Africa, directed by Eric Darnell and Tom McGrath. Are they the same guys who did the first one? Yeah. So, yeah, you got them going to Africa this time. And they go to Africa. And Alex finds his family. Because they
Yeah.
always in DreamWorks second installments, they got to be like, now he finds his dad or his mum.
Yeah, there's got to be a family subtext or something to it.
Except in Shrek 2.
I mean, I would actually...
No, that's wrong.
What?
Fiona
doesn't
goes to see her mum and dad.
Yeah, but it's not like she didn't know who they were.
No, but the parental figures are introduced.
Okay, this is what normally happens. I mean, I would actually argue that this one probably has the most like story in terms of plot to it, probably.
It's definitely got a plot.
Yeah, no, like I feel like it at least follows something. No, like it.
There's definitely a narrative going on. I don't know
like
that
it
it's
has
the
a
strongest
story.
narrative. I don't know that it's particularly strong, but it is there.
I don't think any of them particularly have like a strong story. But at least this one had one that kind of, I guess you could kind of follow it in terms of like a really shit version of like The Lion King or something. But
they've all kind of gone to their like ancestral home because they all come from Africa.
They're in Africa, but nowhere specifically in Africa. Just a what's it? What
It's
they call
just
it? A resort in Africa. Yeah, just in Africa.
Just the whole
continent. Just the whole continent. Yeah,
that's where they are. They're in the whole continent of Africa. I was just fucking bored.
Yeah, I still didn't like this one.
I liked it more than Madagascar.
Yeah, same.
Nope,
but
I don't agree with that at all. But I was just bored. Like I think I'm getting to the point of these like children's trilogies where I'm bored. I just can't.
I think they went in a lot more with like the adult themes.
Yeah,
you know, like the penguins and the monkeys are in this kind of like class war. It's like, like classism
what was
going on.
Commies
you
and
call it like the skipper
whatever.
calls one of the monkeys a commie, and it's like, the monkeys represent like the working class, and they're trying to fight for better working rights, and it's like they're trying to ask for what is it, maternity leave?
Yeah.
You're all male.
You're all male.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah,
I like all that going on. This is the only movie that made me like. Well, I don't know. The third one kind of did, but this one made me laugh the loudest. Like,
what was that thing that was so funny? Like Max was like laughing for like a good 5 minutes after
I'll
it happened.
tell you, Darcy. It was when so they've gone from Madagascar, and the first movie leaves off as they're just trying to leave Madagascar, and they leave Madagascar in this one. They're on the plane, and then the plane starts crash landing, and then they're trying to make an emergency landing, and Skipper's like, oh god, he's like trying to guide one of the penguins to land the plane correctly, and he's saying like, oh, just kiss the ground. Kiss it, smooch it, give it a smooch like you're kissing your sister, and then the plane smashes into the ground with such force. Oh, it was hilarious. I didn't imagine there'd be an incest joke in Madagascar too.
I think we actually lost track of Max for a couple minutes after that because we couldn't get him. He was gone.
I mean, something good about this film is it actually made us laugh more than the first one.
Yeah,
the first one I don't think got a single like genuine laugh out of any of us, except for Darcy when a penguin karate chopped someone or like knocked him out or something.
Literally sparked this man out, and for some weird reason I found it so stupid that it was really funny.
Yeah,
see the thing that the penguins are like the best part though. Like literally they just do the stupid shit, and I'm like, that is fucking funny to me. And I'm dying.
Clearly a lot of more adult themes to this movie with the classism and all that. I think maybe they were trying to appeal to an older audience. The parents are taking their kids to see this movie. They've got to put something in there for them too. It's just like, like King Julian and Maurice, they're sitting in first class and they're talking about like democracy and like, oh, whatever happened to the separation of the classes? Maurice is like, oh, I'm sure this whole democracy thing is just a fad. And it's like, why are they going into this?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, like it made the movie more interesting for me, but
I personally preferred the cucking of Melman.
Sure, yeah. Melman gets royally cucked in this, where he's got this massive crush on Gloria, and she's just going for the Chad, the Moto. Why do they always fall for the Chads? I'm just a nice guy, Melman.
He's an incel as well.
So yeah, he's kind of it sucks. I don't like you really? You're gonna fall in love with David Schwimmer, are you? Really?
It's been a weird
every
pairing,
fucking
isn't
thing
it?
with David Schwimmer in trying to convince me that the women are gonna fall for David Schwimmer? That's not. This isn't reality.
It's unrealistic, isn't it?
Realistic. Come on.
The thing is, I
Yeah.
didn't really see where, like, I felt like it was convenient for the plot almost. Did anyone else think that in the beginning that Melman would turn around and be like, "Oh, Gloria, I love you"? Like, where's the chemistry? Where was that interaction? Like, I didn't feel it. I didn't notice it.
They needed to be.
Yeah.
Needed to sow some sort of relationship between the two. I don't know. Melman's off being a fucking witch doctor.
Just felt stupid.
And that felt weird to me when they were like, the giraffes managed to convince him that he was dying because he had a brown spot. He's like, yeah, I have brown spots. I'm a giraffe. But
Also,
then they managed to convince him anyway.
And nothing came of that either.
Well, because he wasn't ill, right?
No, but I mean, surely they would have been like he would have followed it up with, "Oh, it's been 3 days and I haven't died. I'm fine." But no, nothing. It was just, "Oh, here I am."
Maybe they should have killed him.
I would have been happy if they did, to be honest.
If David Schwimmer stopped showing up in these movies, I'd be happy.
Same.
What do we all
Sorry,
think
man.
of Moto though?
He was big
I like
and he was chunky.
I
Yeah.
like him chunky.
He's great. Will.i.am did a fantastic job. He's iconic. He's an iconic character.
Yeah, true.
You can't say that you don't recognise him. You can't say he's not memorable. He's iconic.
And he's
What more
only
can
in
I
it for
say?
like 2 scenes, which is even better.
Mhm. I like that his and Gloria's relationship was based entirely off the fact that they were fat.
Yeah, he's like,
Like,
"You're
yeah,
huge,"
you're
and she's
huge,
like,
girl,
"Yeah, you
you're
said
huge."
that.
It's like, I need a man with depth, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, Melman interrupts them while they're like having a bath together, and then like.
What a weird thought.
And then,
Yeah, but look at that
he
swamp
leaves
or
after
something.
saying these nice things about Gloria, and then like all the other like lady hippos come out of the water,
Yeah, that
and
was
I'm like,
weird.
they're all in there. What does that imply? I wonder.
Yeah, that was a strange. Sort of like some little gang bang of hippos or something. It was really weird.
Will.i.am just seems to make every franchise better.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Just by being
X-Men, he was great in Wolverine.
Wolverine, X-Men
Although,
Origins Wolverine. Yeah.
Can I just say that's like, I don't normally pay attention to songs in films, but that song that Will.i.am did, where they're
They did a
dancing,
few songs.
that is what. So they're doing that dance, and I was like, "What is this song and who did this?" And you were like, "Oh, it's Will.i.am and Hans Zimmer." And I went, "That's
Yeah.
fucking awful. It's the
Will.i.am
worst."
and Hans Zimmer did a bunch of songs together for the film, and
Oh, it
it's
was-
really, really
They're
like, pretty much
bad.
just unlistenable.
Yeah.
Like it's just a Hans Zimmer like orchestral, just kind of like the music he did for the first film, but just Will.i.am's just
Rapping on top.
yeah, he's just singing, wailing, and auto tune over it, and it's horrible.
It's
It's
really
really
bad.
bad. It doesn't fit at all.
And they're like dancing to it as if it's like something that you could dance to. And I'm thinking, who greenlit that? Who watched that and went, "Yep, they definitely danced to that"?
Sometimes they'll just get musicians to do scores or like collaborate on scores because they're
Yeah.
musicians.
Because that's what they did with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. They got Hans Zimmer and Pharrell Williams,
Yeah.
Oh.
and it's really bad on that.
I was just
also.
about to ask if it was good or not. Oh, no.
Yeah. I like that they kind of sew in these themes of like global warming or like decreasing animal populations as well. I don't know if that's what they were supposed to be hinting at.
I mean, I
But it
wouldn't be
was like-
surprised considering the kind of themes that they've been like hinting at and joking about.
Yeah, Alex has to go through this like rite of passage to become part of the pride of lions, and his father, who's like the king of the people of the animals in Africa, he's like, "Oh, I'd forgotten about a rite of passage where the lion has to defeat another lion in battle, and then they can be part of the band," you know. And I'm like, really? Have you not done this in a while? Like you forgot about it. You just forgot that was a thing. And I thought there was like a subtle hint that towards the decreasing population of the lions in the wild. I found that to be very poignant and very well utilized. But then then like they do have young lions when Alex is doing the right anyway. So it's like, well, how could you have forgotten about it? It was clearly going to happen anyway.
I didn't find the characters any more interesting in this. I found them less obnoxious, but I didn't
Mhm.
care about any of them.
They're not good characters.
No.
They're not very, like, even when they're like fleshed out, like, I don't know, like, you know, this whole thing with like Melman and Gloria and like Alex finding his parents and stuff, still boring.
Yeah.
We're just bored.
One of the biggest problems I had with the movie is that they trying to give every single character their own completely separate plot, and it just kind of led the film to feeling very bloated, and it felt like I found it really difficult to get invested in anything that was happening because there was so much happening.
Like, I think one of the worst ones was just a really brief stint that Marty had. Like, oh, all these zebras are exactly the same as me. And then Alex comes and goes, no, you're better because you're black with white stripes and you have a good taste in music. And I was
like,
like,
they were trying to do like this identity crisis thing, like this
but
whole...
it ended so quickly.
Yeah, this whole like everyone is... Although everyone's the same as everyone else, everyone is unique in their own right. It seemed like they were trying to kind of go for that, but they didn't really do anything with it at all.
No, like it started
He doesn't
and then
recognise
ended.
Marty for like his own character in the end. He recognises him because he's got that bite mark from the first movie that he put on him when he went insane.
So stupid. I just don't think it's necessary for everyone to have their own like subplot, especially if it's going to end like 2 seconds after you started it. It doesn't need to be that deep, does it?
It's not that deep at all.
No,
It's not
but
even
you
that deep. You know. But if Marty already had the bite mark on him from the first movie, why is it that Alex couldn't identify him before?
Yeah, like they were sitting in that
makes no sense.
well, they were sitting in that thing together, and that's why they had that fight in the first place about not knowing who he was from other zebras. But then, why don't you just look at his arse and go,
That's
doesn't
Marty.
that doesn't look glossy and
That looks like Marty's bum to me. Yeah. I didn't feel like they needed to have Chris Rock voice all the zebras as well.
Oh, that was horrible. I just looked at Max and I went, why are they all voiced
Why are they all
by
Chris Rock?
Chris Rock?
Why are they all him?
Apparently,
Horrible.
Ben Stiller and Chris Rock only spent a day in the studio recording all their lines.
That doesn't
That's how you know
surprise me.
how little they cared about this. They only recorded for a day.
Yeah, oh man.
To be fair, they're not in it that much, though, in theory. Well, I mean, Chris Rock slightly less, because he's...
Yeah, Chris Rock was barely in it.
Yeah, which I kind of
I suppose the
thank my
main
lucky
one was
stars for,
Alex,
to be
but
honest.
even then they've got to juggle all these other subplots, so I guess it all kind of evens out to them.
Yeah,
Each individual
Yeah.
character being as important as the next, but
not as,
and because of that, they all have basically the same amount of lines and dialogue.
And because it's
Mm.
like an hour and a half, they basically are only in it for like a couple of scenes at a time or throughout the whole thing in general. So I guess you could record
Yeah.
all your lines in a day.
I really didn't like Alex's plot. I thought it was just like the most generic like version of that story.
It was like the
possible.
worst version of Kung Fu Panda
Yeah,
3 I've ever
like-
seen.
It's interesting seeing the plot done here when we watched the Kung Fu Panda films not that long ago, because it's like in those films it's so like emotional and powerful, and it's really handled well, whereas here it's just done in the most dull and plain way possible.
Yeah. Well, they needed a plot, I suppose.
Yeah.
But they needed to make another movie. The other one did so well.
You've also got Alec Baldwin in that plot as like the villain, who's like the most cookie cutter, cliched villain possible.
He's
he's
like
like-
a really bad version of Scar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
That was exactly what they were trying to go for. I mean, to talk about positives, I thought the penguins were still all right.
I love the
I thought they were
penguins.
pretty
They're
good.
funny.
the greatest.
They like ran over the lady, the old lady, who's always coming
That was
up.
good.
Like, oh, is she dead? No. And then they just like run her over again. I didn't know why the old granny was Russian. She had like a Russian accent, but like she was in New York, and she says, "Yeah, I was in the Brownies in Yonkers, which is in New York." Like clearly she's been there for a while. Why she got an accent? Why she got a Russian accent?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's almost as if she went over there as a kid and then went back to Russia and then came back.
I don't even know why they needed to bring these human characters into.
They didn't
The
need to
film?
be in it, to
No,
be
they
honest.
didn't.
Didn't
Bloats
really
it.
add anything.
I think they just wanted to do that whole like, oh, you remember that old lady that kicked his butt in the first one? Look, she's back again.
There's also like some sort of patriotic stance with like New York. It's like, oh, we're from New York. We built this city, and we're gonna do it again in the jungle.
And a
It's like-
shadow turned into Lady Liberty.
Yeah,
What
fucking
the?
hell. Why is it like two groups of safari goers bump into each other because they're both lost, but they're all from New York?
Yeah.
No, it's a New York only resort. That's what it is.
honestly. I think they do make a lot of like American references in these movies as well.
Yeah, it's
Like, one of
very
the first
proud
ones,
to be
look,
American,
it's
isn't
the
it?
New York Giants. I'm like, am I supposed to understand what that's about? It's like probably some sort of team.
They are a
got
team. I
going
don't know
on.
what
Yeah.
team they are, but they are a team. Are they? Is
Like
it American
or
football?
something.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I laugh, but then if you go to like your if you go to Primark at the moment, they have like loads of like NFL kind of
Yeah.
like jackets and stuff, and I'm
Because
like,
it was
oh,
the
okay.
Super Bowl not that long ago.
Oh, that might make sense.
Mm.
Yeah. So I guess people would probably understand the reference, but it didn't need to be there, really, did
Yeah.
it? To be honest.
Apparently, in the Finnish version of this movie, Moto is played by Vile Valo from Him.
That is so sick. That guy is so
God.
cool.
Dear.
That's just a random bit of trivia I had.
Nice.
I
Thanks.
noted a few bits down, but that was like the only interesting bit.
If I ever go to a pub quiz and it ever comes up,
Yeah.
I'll be sure to thank you.
Also,
later
this
on.
apparently was the first Madagascar film to be released in IMAX.
Well done.
Imagine watching this in IMAX. It would have been a great experience.
Would have been awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'll give it that. Like, it looks better than the last one.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
It looks like it has a bit more effort put into it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it definitely has it still has like a very smooth sort of look, but it looks more intentional rather than being due to kind of like restraints.
Yeah, like I feel like my biggest gripe with it, but then like we were talking about earlier, you can't change the characters once you've sort of established them. But my biggest gripe still is the bloody blocky lion hands. They look so awful. Especially on like there's like the scene at the beginning where like little baby Alex is like batting things around, but his arms are like literally like stiff because he can't like move his like tiny like foam finger hands. So he's like
How nice that he runs into his father immediately after crashing in Africa.
yeah, and
Just
they just
Africa.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she and
Oh,
his
you're
mum
my
just
son because you got the birthmark on your paw just like me because that's how birthmarks work. And
exactly.
it's in the exact shape of Africa.
I love the fact that
Yeah.
it's in the exact same.
It is impressive that he's managed to crash into this gigantic continent and managed
Yeah.
to be
landing
in
at
the
one
place.
spot. Yeah.
Where are you? You in Egypt? Probably not. I don't know.
But then again, where would the story be, I suppose, if they were just like stranded in desert outback Africa where they all have to like eat each other to survive? It would be like some sort of like 100 and something hours kind of shit.
Yeah. What, 127 hours?
Yeah, I couldn't think of the
Yeah.
title.
Yeah, they should. That's what the sequel should have been.
I would have loved
like
that.
127 hours of
Yeah.
Madagascar, yeah.
Where they all have to like eat each other's like limbs and stuff to stay alive.
It's annoying they have to keep calling it Madagascar, even though they're like not in Madagascar for most of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they're in Africa this time. Escape to Africa. Great. I feel like they should learn their lesson in the like they found their home in Africa, but like they still want to leave to go back to New York for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird. Because like in the first film, the kind of point was that they were finally in the wild and they were like, they really liked it and they still wanted to leave. And then here they're like with their family, with other people like them and they're really loving it and then they still want to go back.
Yeah, I guess they're just true New Yorkers at
Yeah.
heart. Yeah. You know, like when the old lady beats up Makunga at the end and like they play the good, the bad and the ugly thing?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
For
That was
who?
so awesome. There's themes of colonialism with like the humans banding together and stopping the water from flowing into the outback and like well, not just where the animals can get to it. So they go on this mission to like destroy this dam, but then they like Alex and his dad like go there and that's like what they want to do. But then like as soon as things get a bit complicated, they're like, we're gonna leave now. And they didn't like the only reason they blew up the dam was because like it got the message to like get the hell out of there was lost in a game of Chinese whispers between this monkey rope, and they end up bursting the dam anyway. It was like, okay, that was like
Yeah.
complete coincidence that happened.
I don't have anything else to add.
Ratings,
Yeah. We can rate this one out of Morts.
okay.
Unless you wanted to rate it out of something else.
No, I don't care.
Okay.
Mort's here. He gets a
He
Gets
gets many
chased by a
shout outs.
shark.
yeah. He gets chased by a shark. He's on the wing of the plane in the Twilight Zone reference. It looks insane. Yeah, he was awesome. Best part of the movie.
Yeah. I guess this film's better than the first one, but I wouldn't even say by much. I still didn't like it. I still didn't really get anything out of it at all. Like, guess it's better visually. It's good. Got a couple laughs out of me. But that's about it. I give it 3 morts out of 10.
Yes, this was great. True masterpiece of cinema. I just fucking love that part where the plane goes into the ground. It's fucking hilarious. I'll give him
See, like, he's still laughing.
Madagascar. Escape to Africa. 4 morts out of 10, I guess. It was better than the first one. It's not great though.
I was bored. 2 morts out of 10. Scuba da da, scuba da dee, on to Madagascar free. Yeah, so the last one is Madagascar Free, Europe's Most Wanted. Came out in 2012. Directed by 3 people. Jesus Christ. So we got Conrad Vernon, Eric Darnell, and Tom McGrath. And it's basically about how they
go to Europe.
They basically go to Europe and
Join the
they
circus.
join the circus. Yeah, there's like a really long explanation on Letterboxd, but I really
that's
can't bother to
in
read
and out
it.
of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like they go to Europe and then they join a circus
Yeah,
to get
'cause-
back to New
yeah.
York.
Yeah, that's it.
Meanwhile, they're being chased by an animal control person who wants to steal Alex's head, sorry.
Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the hell's Adam?
The other
yeah,
guy.
Dubois, played by Francis McDormand,
Which is
who's obviously the best part of the movie.
oh, she
really.
honestly is like it's the best part of the movie by far. Like you got the penguins, and then somehow she just went boom.
Yeah, I mean they kind
Took
of
it
go
over.
in on it, you know. It's just like they really use animation. It's kind of like I won't say it's full potential, but they use it a lot better in this movie to showcase things you couldn't show in live action.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
she's fucking,
walking through walls
she's
and
just
shit.
smashing through walls trying to get these animals. It's like hilarious. She's like on her motorcycle.
We
and,
were like literally in tears at one point. It's just so
like,
funny.
running across like a pile of fish, and she's like holding the motorcycle above her head. It's crazy. Like jumps off of a fucking building, and then like on her motorcycle, and then she like jumps off the motorcycle onto the next building. It's crazy stuff.
It's really funny though. It's like probably my
hilarious.
favourite bit of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, really good. I do like Francis McDormand as the character. Almost feel like with characters in animation, like even just live action, any movie, why they have to hire American actors to do accents when they could just hire actors from like those countries?
Yeah.
I have
do those
no
accents.
idea. I don't know
And they
whether
You probably wouldn't have to pay them as much either. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
yeah, like is it just one of
What the
those
deal
things
is.
again where they're like, oh, people will know who this is, but then I wouldn't have known
think
who it
so.
is, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Fuck
So what
knows.
are our baseline thoughts on the movie?
It's the best one.
yeah,
it's
I'd agree.
funny. It actually is kind of genuinely funny.
I found like the tiger's plot to be quite amusing. Who's like his whole thing in the circus is like he jumps through increasingly smaller hoops. I was like, this is weird. He like
Jump-
oils himself up with olive oil and like
With,
jumps through
conditioners.
hoops, and it's like that was weird.
Darcy's just given up and decided to lie down.
First 20 minutes of this movie is really interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it held my attention. I would say the rest not so much, but you know that first 20 minutes. Mwah.
Yeah, I
Lovely.
completely agree. I was having a really good time during that.
Yeah, so was I. I think I got taken out of it the second that Chris had to go take a phone call. That was when I went, I don't want to
Yeah,
watch
that was
this
about
anymore.
halfway through the movie.
48 minutes to be precise.
Yeah.
I just wanted to die after that. Didn't want to watch it anymore.
It feels like they're still making Madagascar for kids, but like there's 7 years between like this and the first one, where I feel like they probably should have made it a bit more like grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess the people that have watched it are now 6 or 7 years older at that
Yeah.
point.
They're still making it for babies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Kung Fu Panda kind of. I felt like the last one was a bit more grown up than the first one.
Yeah. Those are better movies.
Yeah. Or even like Toy Story, where the third one, it knew it's for more adult people, because people who were kids when the first one came out are now like teenagers, maybe even older.
Yeah, they should have made Toy Story 4 like a bloodbath or something. Dear. Yeah, you got Bryan Cranston playing like that, the Russian tiger. Like, you'd have just got like a Russian voice actor.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, he was decent. He was all right.
Yeah, I do like the fact that with this one they've got more recognizable voices and like actors again, but they're not just playing themselves like in the first couple movies. Like, obviously you got Bryan Cranston, you got Frances McDormand, you got Martin Short and Jessica Chastain, who are all in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all of them are kind of playing distinct characters who have their own voices and aren't just the actors.
Yeah, and they look better than the main cast as well.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the main characters suck. They're terrible. I guess I just got the most out of like Frances McDormand's police officer, and like I was going to say Mort, but I actually don't think he does much in this movie. Like at all.
No, he was barely in it at all.
No, that's a shame. You missed out on that, didn't you?
Yeah.
You got like fucking King Julian, who's like fallen in love with like this bear, this circus bear, and they're in like this abusive relationship. They like go on a date in Rome, and they're like the bear like rides a motorcycle around Rome. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Psycho.
It's quite mental.
Yeah. It was mental, mate.
I'm a big fan of it. I felt more of their love chemistry than I did Gloria and Melvin.
You got like actual like what is it? King Julian's like, stop it. No means no. It's like, what the fuck? What the hell?
There's a lot of consensual themes in this film.
It's like the bear is kind of slapping him around. He's like, no means no. It's like, what have I walked into here? This is weird. Appreciated it, you know. Made the movie more entertaining. But overall, I wouldn't say that I liked the movie.
No.
It's just got a lot peppered in there to keep you entertained. But I won't say throughout. It's more towards the first half, I'd say.
Yeah, there's a lot more comedy that actually works.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know how much of that comes down to the fact that Noah Baumbach had a deal in the script. He's done a lot of like script doctoring and rewrite work in his career, but apparently he did like 60 pages of rewrites for this movie, so that's why he has a writing credit.
Yeah,
I think
like
originally he was supposed to just do like a brief like rewrite, and he basically rewrote the whole film.
It was a lot less cringe. Like, you know, you get that like family humor or like dad humor. I felt like it was a bit more funny than that, but I felt like a lot of more like of the jokes were like more visual. Like for me, like I was laughing at most of the visual things rather than things that people were saying.
But there were a lot of good like dialogue word jokes as well.
Yeah, I suppose.
Darcy disagrees and has just gone back to sleep.
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
I mean, well, don't just like. Afro Circus was annoying as shit. You know, that plays like 3 times.
So
that's like a big thing for like the trailers. I think they probably put that in for the trailers.
Yeah.
that was also a massive thing. I remember in general, like you used to go on YouTube and there used to be like Afro Circus 10-hour edit, Afro Circus repeated, but Marty is blue and purple and pink, and it's like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah, it was just like one of those really annoying, like
It was almost like a meme thing for
obnoxious
ages.
meme things. Like, I feel like you got a lot of things like that around that time, like stuff from like the ASDF movies and shit, like where they have like those
the most
quotes
random, the
that
better.
The annoying kid you knew at school would like make their entire personality.
I'm so
It's just
random.
like one of those sort of
Lemons.
things. Yeah, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Circus Afro is, and I
But
really
the thing is,
hate
it was kind of that time where things like raw lemons, ha ha ha, I'm so funny, was like popular, and I hate that, but it's true.
Yeah.
There's a mashup
Cringe.
of Circus Afro and I Like to Move It at the end, which is the most annoying thing I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, I actually think that is the worst part of the whole series.
Yeah, I agree.
It's awful.
Mm-hmm. Should have just played I Like to Move It. That's a banger. Stands the test of time. There was Afro Circus does not, I'm afraid. What a shame. Why did they give the sea lion fingers as well? That was fucked up. That
It was like
horrendous to
flappers,
look at.
but
Oh, it
with
was
fingers.
horrible.
Like imagine
Yeah.
flappers
It's like
with fingers.
Flappers, you say?
What,
Imagine the flappers with,
What are they called?
with fingers.
The,
What do you mean?
The flappers. The,
Flippers?
the what? The fins. Flappers.
Flippers?
Flip.
Flippers?
I get the flippers.
Flippers? Yeah, imagine flappers with fingers. It was crazy, man. They shot the sea lion out the cannon. He was just smacked into the cliff. Oh, shit. He's dead.
Yeah.
So many times I thought, oh my God, these characters have died. They shot that little dog character, like gave him rocket shoes. It went pew off into the fucking distance. And like, we never saw that dog again, man.
That
He
actually
died
sounds like a better
with
movie
the
than
rocket shoes. Oh my God. And then like, what's their great idea for getting the sea lion off of the cliff, and then he's just fucking smashed into the cliff through the cannon. It's like, I guess we'll fire Marty with the same cannon at the cliff with a rope this time, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, and then because he's got the weird flipper things, he can like hold on to the rock anyway. So it was like, what
Yeah, because
did
he's
you-
got his
what did
fingers.
you-
Because
What
the
did you
sea
do it
lion's
for?
got his fingers and just hold on to the cliff face. Oh, yeah, nice. Oh, and there's like a kind of a love story between Alex and that the jaguar. That they
I love
kind
when
of
she says
hint towards,
jaguar.
but I mean, it doesn't go anywhere really. I guess they're
Gypsies
just
and
mates,
jaguar.
which is fine. But it's like, why sow that if you're not going to pay it off, which they
Yeah.
never really did.
It's just
Yeah.
a generic love trope.
Yeah, they
love
kind of just
story
did the
thing.
like, oh, we're gonna look at each other, and you should get the vibes.
It is also sort of like that kind of plot as well.
It
Something
was.
we've not seen before. It's like, yeah, they're caught up in a lie and saying that which was just not even true.
didn't really lie.
They didn't really lie. They were like, yeah, we're going here because we're going to New York.
Yeah.
And then they start training the circus animals to be better
Yeah.
at the circus, and then they get better, and then they're like, yo, you were never ready for the circus in the first place, were
Literally.
you? It's like, yeah, they told you that,
Yeah.
and that's where the second act low point comes in, and they all
Yeah.
disband and they separate, and it's like, oh man, I can't believe they weren't in
Yeah.
it for the
But that-
circus.
But that's the only thing they lied about was the fact that they
Yeah.
weren't circus animals. Everything else they said, we're going back to America, we're going to New York, that's where we're from.
Yeah, I
We
hate the
did this.
lie revealed trope to begin
Yeah.
with, but when it's done like this, where they weren't even really lying at all, it just felt so unnatural.
Yeah, I've seen it a million times. It's always quite boring. You can see it coming a mile off. It's like, if the plot is hinging on like that they're leading this life because they've told a lie, then obviously the second act low point is going to come from the reveal of that
Yeah,
lie.
you're just waiting the whole
and then
film
we're going
for
to
it
get
to
like
happen.
10 minutes where everyone's a bit sad, and then they'll get back together again for the
Yeah,
third
that's
act.
the only thing I hate about those kind of tropes is that you're literally just waiting for them to go, you found out now, and it's like,
Mm.
sure,
But hey, at least we still got the penguins in there.
cool as ever.
Because they're super rich, because like in the second movie they like flew off with all the gold that they mined from Africa, so they're like massively rich with all these monkeys, and they're living in the lap of luxury in like hotels and living
Yeah.
like rock stars, smashing up the place.
And they have
They're
all
in
these
Monte
like diamonds
Carlo
and
and they're
stuff.
gambling and winning more money and shit.
Yeah, monkeys dressed up as a king, and everybody's like, this monkey is the king.
And they bought the circus with a bunch of like gemstones
Like, we
and
can do
diamonds
it. We can
and
do
stuff.
anything we want. We can buy a solid gold plane out of here. And one of the penguins is like, a solid gold plane wouldn't be able to fly. And his skipper's like, Kowalski, we're rich. The rules of physics don't apply to us.
That was a really great joke.
I like that they, well, I say I liked it, but like their whole resolution for Bryan Cranston was like, just don't douse yourself in flammable olive oil to get through the ring. It's like, couldn't you have fucking done that before? And as much as I appreciate that they gave him an arc, he's like the only character to have an arc in this movie. Why? It's so
Yeah, it
obvious.
didn't
It's
make any
like, oh, we'll
sense.
just have you tried lubricating yourself with a hair conditioner? It's like, no, I never tried that. That's why I quit, because it was too dangerous to light the ring on fire and then be covered in a flammable liquid. It's like, just don't cover yourself in a flammable liquid. That's the resolution to that arc.
The soundtrack was like the most of its time soundtrack possible. Like,
All I remember was Katy Perry.
yeah, Katy Perry, like Firework plays a couple times. like Americana song, whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
It plays.
Oh,
Yeah, that plays at one point.
Yeah, it's not good.
Hans Zimmer's score, I guess, is probably better than the other two, but it's still not very good.
Nowhere near his best.
No.
Yeah. Shame, really. Because you could have something really interesting with this kind of setting in terms of the music, but I guess I just didn't care enough. I don't know. This didn't really do all that well either for them. You know, it made like
Yeah, what was the budget? We didn't discuss this.
$216 million, I think. I've just written $216. That's not true.
Really?
It's probably $216 million they made from a budget of $145 million.
Oh, that's
not that
So
great.
I was looking through like the box office bit, and apparently it's the highest grossing non-Shrek DreamWorks movie.
God
It's
damn.
like the 22nd highest grossing animated film of all time.
Wait, I thought the first one made 550 something million. So wouldn't that make that one the highest grossing rather than this one?
The box office for
But
the first one, so it had a budget of 75 million, the first one, and it made back 556 million. And the second one did considerably better, I think. I mean, it had a budget of 150 million, it made back 603 million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one did 746 million.
Okay, cool,
Really?
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
It's possible the number you had was like just in America or something.
Yeah, it might have been. Oh well, that's
Okay,
sometimes
that's-
I'm wrong.
Okay, yeah, and then that would make it the highest grossing one, I
Yeah.
suppose.
It's the 8th highest grossing film of 2012.
Oh, okay.
For good reason.
Do you think we'll ever get Madagascar 4?
No.
I hope not.
I feel like too much time's passed now.
There were calls for that, I think. Oh,
Yeah.
make Madagascar 4, please.
They planned it for a 2018 release, but when like DreamWorks had a big restructuring, they kind of just removed it from the schedule. They say that they're still going to do one, but
They did that with Shrek as well, and then look what happened there.
It'll be a
they're
straight to
still saying they're
Netflix
going to be
release.
doing a new Shrek movie, but
I thought Illumination had the rights to Shrek now.
I don't
I
know.
thought they were doing a new Shrek movie.
I don't know if that's fallen apart because we've not heard anything about that in like 6 or 7 years.
They've got that Minions movies they're doing.
They're doing fine on their own, I guess.
The Sing
Sing 2
movies,
and,
yeah.
all that jazz. Yeah. Ratings?
Yeah.
Sure.
We're obviously going to rate this out of flappers.
Flappers, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, this was definitely my favourite out of all of them. This is the one that I probably found the least boring, has the best jokes, visually looks pretty decent. It's a lot better than the other two at least, but still not great. Not one of DreamWorks' best, but definitely not one of their worst, I don't think. I give it like 5 flappers out of 10.
Yeah. It lost me in the middle.
Yeah, same.
So, but up until that point, it was having a decent time, I suppose. The animation's better. Trying to think of more compliments, but I guess that's it. It doesn't reach quite the highs of the second one for me. But it stays consistently better, I would say. I'll give it 5 flappers out of 10.
I love this flappers rating first. I would say it's probably the funniest in terms of I don't know,
The only
I
funny
found it
part of this
funny,
movie was like with Dubois and like the
yeah, but I
how she
mean that
moved.
enough was enough for me
she
to
like sang a song
that.
and like the power of the song.
Oh yeah, like broke all the casts and
police
stuff.
people's casts.
Yeah, that was quite funny. And I mean, yeah, it's probably the best looking one. Like, it's got some really like cool things that they do with the circus and stuff. But yeah, after it got to about 40 minutes, I didn't want to watch it anymore. So for that reason alone, I'm gonna give it 4 flappers out of 10.
Was that Madagascar forever and a day? Love them so much. Seminal movies.
We didn't watch Penguins of Madagascar, but we did watch an episode of All Hail Exile Julian.
Yeah, we did. Because I needed to do my notes. So I just put on the fucking the King Julian show on Netflix.
Not even the King Julian show, the spin-off of
the spin-off King Julian show.
show.
Yeah. That looks a lot worse than these movies. But I guess they didn't have as much of a budget. Obviously. You guys thought it went on for a long time, that episode.
Yeah, it was only like 20 minutes. Felt like about an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Madagascar. That's episode 70 done then. Another one for the books. Thank you very much for listening. We've got what's in the next one.
Yes,
We're
the wheel.
doing the Wheel of Fortune for the next one.
Excited.
That tells us what we'll be watching for next week. So Chris has the wheel. I'm going to spin it. Do you?
A genre came up. It was crime movies. Any oppositions?
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I feel like we're going to have to scrap these genre ones. Because I just feel like...
I mean, I don't even mind them, but crime is just... It ain't it,
I just kind of
Chief.
feel like
It
it's
just
a bit
ain't
too
it.
broad. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just
Skip this one then?
Yeah.
cracking.
Sure thing. We'll remove the crime
Yeah,
ones
we'll
after.
remove the genre one.
Or the genre, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Can't win them all. What was the next one that came up then?
Films based on video games.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Fuck it, yeah. Okay.
Great.
Video game movies for the next one. That'll be fun. So few good ones.
There are no good ones.
Well, we'll see. That Jumanji one was based on a video game because they went into the video game, right?
I mean,
They
I
went
guess
into the
that
video
would.
game
I guess that
movie.
would kind of count, I suppose. Don't know if
So
that's a
it's
good
Jumanji
idea.
for a new age. We're going into a video game now. Thanks for listening to this one. We've got 3 video game movies to watch next week. Not sure which ones yet, but tune in to find out. We got social media. YouTube is a Sunday Movie Marathon. Who'd have guessed it? Twitter is at Sunday Movie Pod. Facebook is at Sunday Movie Marathon. And Letterboxd is at Sunday MM, capital S, capital MM. Any final words, lads? Circus? Afro?
Circus.
Afro?
Circus.
Afro?
Circus.
Polka dot, polka dot, polka dot. Afro?
Oh, yeah, I've actually forgotten how it ended.
Yeah.
Look out! I think Moto likes you.